Did you ask everyone to rejoin?
I'm sure.
There's 3. They're here. Okay. David, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Everybody else is going to have to rejoin because we were all on here when it kicked off.
But that's already, you know, what do you want, somehow, or
Yeah.
we need some volume now?
And I'll get it fixed for next time. I apologize.
Looks like we're gonna be improvising here. I got Tom, got Becky here.
Hi, guys.
Chiming in close quarters tonight.
Good
All good.
evening.
We're all in a phone booth up here at Town Hall. My apologies. I had tested it, but it didn't work tonight. I will do a better test before tomorrow night. I mean, before our next meeting. Again, my apologies on the Apple. I had the volume, everything worked, but we could hear everything you said, but you couldn't hear us. So here we are, all huddled about this small computer.
Luckily, there's only 3 of us.
There's
We're in
only-
good shape.
Right.
We're in good shape.
That's good.
Well, so I'd like to open the meeting tonight. And as you don't have a chair, I will move ahead with the first agenda item, which is organizational I'm just gonna open this. Okay. It's an organizational meeting. So the first thing that we would need to do is to take nominations for a chair. And then the rules being that anyone can either vote for themselves or someone else. And the second position to be filled would be the secretary position. Minutes are required for all local meetings. So so I'd like to bring this meeting to order as the person officiating. And I am requesting nominations for chair. Do I hear any?
Should we have like an introduction phase? Because I'm not sure everybody knows everybody.
That
It'd
would
be kind of hard
important,
to choose a potential chair and or discuss a chair if I don't know who everybody is on the call.
So introductions.
And what their backgrounds are, what make them a chair, I don't know. Just throw it.
So let's just go through and do general introductions. If you are nominated or if you nominate someone, please explain your reason for nominating and your reasons for accepting a nomination. But to start with, can we go around the screen, starting with David Green, and introduce yourself to the others?
Good evening, everyone. I'm David Green. I've lived on the lake for 20 years. I am on the Lake Wyola Advisory Committee, a committee which I previously served as chair. I also served as the LWA president for 4 years. I am work for Greenfield Savings Banks, active in that community, member of several boards and committees. So I've got a lot of experience, and I'm here to do my part to help this process move along. Thank you.
38.
Great. Matt, would you like to go next?
Sure, yeah, so I'll give a quick intro. So been on the lake my whole life. My grandparents have been on the lake since the 1950s. So that puts me at 49 years of being at the lake. Live at 16 Wyola Drive now. Experienced motorboarder, paddler, canoeer. My younger life, I was an Eagle Scout, so life-saving, safety, all that kind of stuff. Professionally, I'm a mechanical engineer in business. I was a general manager for many industrial manufacturing businesses across the country, where safety was a major component of that industrial manufacturing process. So very familiar with rules, regulations, enforcement, education, done a lot of that type of stuff. Currently, I serve as a COO for an energy generation company in Connecticut named Kinsley. So we do backup power generation, and we also work on decarbonization of the economy and all that type of stuff with different forms of energy generation. Also on the LWA board, mostly known as the swag guy, hence the vest. So if anybody needs any swag, I'm your guy. And my whole, reason to join this is to just make sure that we have a safe lake, a lake that's safe for all that enjoy it in the future now and for, the many years to come. So including my next generation, my child, and my family as well. So that's why.
Okay, Tom Seifert, would you like to go next?
Sure, thanks. Hi, everyone. I think, oh, thank
Go
you.
ahead, you go in.
I think I've met most of you before. So hi again to all of you, and to the others. My name is Tom Seifert. I've lived in Shutesbury since 2017, arriving as a senior lecturer in German at UMass. But I don't do that anymore. I left the academy, so to say, in 2018, yeah. And then I became involved with an adult literacy and English as a second language program here in Orange and Athol, among other things. But that's my most recent work. And I live on the lake on South Laurel Drive with my husband, Frank, and our dog, Carl. Besides having been a German professor and in the German academic world for about 20 years, I was also a protein chemist for a brief foray after college for about 3 years. And in college, I also studied Latin on top of the chemistry. German was a later pursuit. So I have a PhD. I've had to do a lot of research in my life, especially in written form, with a lot of old documents, actually, in my experience, but a lot of very legalese type documents as well, and a lot of the educational research I've done. I won an award for teaching German at one point. I realized I'm going on too long. So I have an educational background. I have an interest in helping the town out and in making it safe. And I'll let others speak. I'm sorry, I forgot it's different when I'm in person from when I'm in Zoom, how long to talk. So thank you for listening.
Wonderful, thank you, Tom. Mark Rivers. Junior.
Hi, everybody. Mark Rivers, the younger one. You all can hear me, right? Okay. Apologies if I get cut out. I'm down in South Carolina right now. We're waiting for the tropical storm to come hit us. I think we'll be okay. But if I disappear, don't worry about it. I'm just going inside somewhere. So I am third generation on Lake Wyola. My mother grew up and her parents owned the house next to the one we currently live in over on 70 Lake Drive. We were over on Pine Drive for a while. Been there pretty much my entire life. Off and on as I've moved around the country to do different things. I'm a physical therapist professionally, also a lifeguard instructor during certain portions of the year. Water skier, motorboater, whitewater paddling. Used to do flat water canoe racing, still do a little stand-up paddleboard racing every now and then. Not as good as I used to be though, so that doesn't happen as often. And also do sailing. Getting ready for our next trip down to the Caribbean in February. So like being around the water. It's not fun if you can't do it again. So, being safe is really important for me. I used to co-chair the Lake Wyola Association Safety Committee back in the before times, before the pandemic. Then stepped away from that when work took me away from New England for a couple of years. And so happy to be able to help keep Lake Wyola safe and do what we can to make any improvements.
Excellent, thank you very much. Moving along, Kathy Salvador.
That's me. Well, I'm none of those exciting things that have already been talked about, but I do have an interest in keeping the lake safe. Joe and I live on the lake. We've been here on Lake Wyola since 2008. I used to serve on the Lake Wyola Association Board of Directors. I helped rewrite the not the last bylaws, but the previous edition of the bylaws, and I served on the safety committee at that time. So I have an interest in safety. I spent my entire career with Smith & Wesson in the Human Resources Department. Part of that time I was on that safety committee. So safety is, I guess, is kind of my middle name. But living on the lake now, rather than just coming back and forth on the weekends like Joe and I used to do when we were both still working full-time. Living full-time on the lake has given us a completely different perspective, I think, on the lake and how it can be used safely. So I'm happy to be part of this committee. Hope we come up with some good ideas.
Excellent. Thank you, Kathy. Amy Lujan?
All right, hello. So I'm Amy Lehan. Actually, nobody says it right, so no worries. So I have been coming to the lake for my entire life, so more than 40 years. My grandparents bought our original camp right when my dad came back from the Vietnam War, and my parents sold that probably 13 years ago and moved out of the camp, like summer home living situation, and moved to a place and renovated and live there full time now on 4 Lake Drive. And so I am lucky enough to continue having summer living space up there. I spend a lot of time. It's definitely always been my happy place. And I have used the lake in so many different ways. My probably top passion in life is water skiing. But I love to paddleboard. I love to watch my kids fish, sailing, all manner of uses of the lake. Professionally, I am a nurse. I'm a school nurse at the Williston Northampton School. I have been married to a police officer for almost 15 years. My brother-in-law, who also spends a lot of time at Lake Wyola, is a police officer. So have a lot of that sort of safety background, like, you know, my own interest in as a nurse, but also hearing a lot of the police talk and mentality as well all my life. Let's see, what else? I don't know. Did I miss anything? I probably covered enough.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much. Judy Remmel. Judy, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I did not. So we've had a place on Lake Wyola for about 20 years that we would come in the summer, and then we ended up moving up here, I guess, around 5 years ago. So I love to swim and sailboating, and just kayaking. And I just would like to try to improve and make it a better place for everyone to hang out on the lake.
Thank you very much, Judy. Christine Bassel.
Hi, I'm Christine Brassel. Like Amy, they can't pronounce my last name. I have been, I applied for this, being on this board because I have been frequenting the lake for about 11 years now. I actually married into a family that has a family-owned house there on Lake Drive, who has been there his entire life. And it has been an absolute pleasure being up there in the summer. We love to be there in the winter as well. I'm an HR director. I am been in HR for well over 30 years. And in each of the positions I've ever had, it's always had safety and health concerns. I work for a school system in the Pioneer Valley, throughout the entire Pioneer Valley. And it's been an experience with safety, especially with the school systems the way they are. Dealt with a lot of unionization, different agreements that have to be done and things along that line. So I'm hoping I can be an added help to what's going on at the lake and again, it is a wonderful place to be, and it has been an absolute pleasure.
Beautiful. Well, thank you everyone so much for giving such detailed backgrounds. I think that gives, I hope each of you were taking notes to give you some direction in our next step, which would be to take nominations for a chair. And once you have successfully elected a chair, that person will take over the meeting. Just so you have that expectation. And I'll step aside except for when you ask me questions. Do I hear any nominations?
I would like to make a nomination.
Yes, Dave.
If she is willing to accept, I would like to nominate Amy Lehan as chair of the board, as chair of this committee.
All right.
I'd like to make a nomination for Matt Baroic. Yes, you.
I'd like to second that nomination for Matt if possible.
I'd like to nominate Kathy Salvador. She was on the board at Lake Wyola, and she's just great communicator and very level-headed and can see all sides of a picture.
Wonderful. Do we have any further nominations?
If not hearing a second for Amy, I would certainly second Kathy if she were willing to accept the nomination.
Wow, I appreciate the nominations. I've kind of got my hands full at the moment. What I failed to mention is that I'm serving currently on the finance committee for the town of Shutesbury and on the personnel board. So, as much as I appreciate the nominations, I would like to second the nomination of Matt Baroic myself.
We already have a second.
We have a second. Oh, Mark did, sorry.
Okay, so do I hear a second? I think Kathy is trying to gracefully withdraw.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's,
She's declined.
I've
So
tried.
I believe we have a second and a third from Matt. So would that ask for a vote?
Well, let me just ask one more time. Do I have a second for Amy?
I actually would like to excuse myself from that nomination. I appreciate it, Dave, but I, like Kathy, I have a lot on my plate right now. And I would love to be, I'm very excited to be part of the committee, but I don't know that I'm up for being chair of the committee.
Chair of the committee actually means, so what that is.
Does Matt accept the nomination?
I was asking for a little clarification of what the responsibilities of the chair actually are.
That's a damn good question before you accept it.
I am busy as well professionally, so I just want to make sure I'd be able to give, what's required of the committee before
I think Becky would answer that question best.
So if the responsibilities for chair are that you would be in charge of, with the committee scheduling meetings, but then you would have to post the meetings through the town system. Town government is the website that we use to post the meetings. And then Grace or I will probably be doing the Zoom login for you once they are posted, but you would be responsible for posting them 48 hours ahead. If they are not posted 48 hours ahead, they cannot happen. So the system has this real pleasant bright red post at the top that says your meeting is not legal. So it's an important responsibility, and you can always recruit somebody else to help you if you need help. And I think that is a good thing to do. Aside from scheduling the meetings and posting them, you would be responsible to run the meeting. And in running the meetings, you'll need to be very well versed in open meeting law. You will, basic things that you can do is you can set a time for public comment and then just make sure public comment only happens at that time. As the chair, you have control of the meeting. So who speaks is your discretion. We don't like to have chaos break out during meetings, so it's a different art form in Zoom. You have to learn where the mute buttons are and how to eject people. But luckily that we haven't gotten Zoom bombed in quite a long time.
Right.
And folks are typically well enough behaved, you don't have to do that. But it's a skill you want to have.
Our committee here looks like they're pretty level headed.
And if,
What's that?
It's those outsiders.
The outsiders,
or the
those are the ones we,
unexpected.
those are the ones we eject, what you're saying.
you're Zoom bombed and all of a sudden a spree of scandalous words starts coming from the speaker, that's when you eject a person. And they're sometimes hard to catch.
You good with that, Matt?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
So I would guess, Becky, you need to make a motion, or can anyone make a motion to nominate him?
I would be happy to take a motion from the floor. And that's the other thing, motion should come from the floor. If your chair says, let's adjourn the meeting, somebody can say so moved, but the chair typically can't move things.
So I would make a motion to nominate Matt Barecki as chairman of our committee. Can I get a second?
I second that.
Discussion?
Can we get a good pronunciation of the potential chair's last name, please?
You read my mind.
Say it like my parents told me, heroic like heroic. There you go.
Oh,
Thank you, Mr. Barilla.
Thank you. Excellent.
Or if you're Polish, just put onions, but other than that.
all right. So,
And I guess I would say I would elicit help from like, the David Greens of the folks. I'm not as versed in like the motion.
Let's vote him in first.
If anybody can help me with all that, like when we need to make motions, I would take counsel for the first few meetings, I would think.
okay,
Yeah,
and
so
I
fine.
want to make sure we actually take this vote because
All right, let's take the vote.
press and votes never lie. So when you vote online, you need to go around the room, state your position, nay or yay, and your last name. Because on the internet, it could be somebody's phoning in and they don't know who you are. So that's the reason why you have to give your name. Okay, do all those in favor of Matt Baroic becoming chair of the committee, please say aye.
Aye, David Green.
Aye.
And who is
Aye, Judy Rummel.
okay?
Amy Lehan, aye.
Mark
Salvador,
Rivers, aye.
Okay,
Salvador, I.
okay,
Rassel, I.
okay,
Seifert, aye.
okay. And would you like to vote for yourself?
I'm not gonna vote.
And Matt is abstaining. All right, I have a vote of 7, is that correct? 7, 8 yeses. And Matt, I'd like to congratulate you. You are
Thank
the
you.
new chair of our committee.
Congratulations, Matt. Well done.
Appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thanks.
I will do my best.
And I'll let you take nominations for the second.
Okay, so yeah, so do we want to, is there anybody that wants to self-select themselves potentially as the secretary, or does anybody want to nominate somebody as the secretary?
I'll start by offering my secretarial skills, please.
Second.
Second.
All those in
I don't have to. I do have a
That
lot
was
of-
easy.
All in favor?
Minutes, I mean, like, I don't know, are
I
you
was going to
tech savvy,
say,
hopefully?
I think it
Oh,
could
he's
give
very-
us the opportunity to help each other, remind each other.
Yeah, sure.
Because I do attend a lot of town board committee.
Okay.
So we can have a vote on this?
Take all the vote.
Thanks for the prompting, David.
Moving quickly on the secretary.
Want a roll call vote?
Aye, David Green.
Hi, Judy Rummel.
I, Christine Brazel.
Hi, Amy Lehan.
Kathy, you first this time.
Salvador, I.
Rivers, I.
All right.
Heroic guy.
We should do what some of the other committees do and make sure we all understand the alphabetical order of our names so that we can go in that order when we vote. It
Yeah.
makes it much smoother.
Mm.
Fabulous
Good
suggestion.
idea.
But we're learning, so.
You have
All right.
2 successful elections. It's great.
Are we alphabetical by first or last name?
Thank you, everyone.
Last.
Last.
So I didn't hear the answer, guys.
Last name.
I'll abstain. Seifert will abstain.
All right, where are we at the agenda?
Okay, I think Tom is already taking minutes, so that's a great thing.
2 minutes. I'm gonna
And
ask
the,
for a photo of you.
okay,
The agenda. The agenda tonight was election of officers, chair and secretary, set meeting days in the calendar for future meetings. We're gonna share contact information, which I think we can get that from Becky and get that to Tom. Organizational items and then review the charge adjourn for the evening. So let's talk about meetings and frequency. Let's talk through how often do we want to meet? What would make sense? I think these evening meetings, probably Zoom is most likely going to end up being probably the most popular, is my guess. Just everybody seems to be scattered. I do
We
travel.
got us all here on a 6:30 on a Wednesday night. Is this gonna work for us all permanently?
Works
I'm
for me.
depending on work, but I will do everything in my power to make those happen. I guess what I'm thinking about is what's the frequency? Is it monthly? Is that enough? Do we start
So-
monthly? Get going? What do you guys think?
One question I have about that is just to review, kind of recall when we are supposed to have our proposals set. My recollection is that it's for town meeting that is happening in the spring.
Correct.
Is that right? And when in the spring is it? Because that's specific. I
May.
don't remember. Late
That-
May. Okay.
no, it's not May anymore. The official date is the last Saturday of April. We
Ugh.
changed it to the last Saturday in April, right before COVID hit. And this last year was the first time we ever did that date. So you're all remembering we met in May and June. But it's the last Saturday in April now, which means that we really need the language about halfway through February.
I would suggest we meet in 2 weeks and then take it from there, and hopefully we can schedule a monthly depending on how much we accomplish.
Agreed there. I'm just looking at my.
agree.
Following.
We have the opportunity to, we don't have to set all the dates in stone tonight, right? We can,
No,
then I
We'll
like
never stick.
Dave's idea of
I agree.
starting off next week. Let's see how things go and we can.
2 weeks,
adapt.
Matt,
We can-
2 weeks, Mark. I'm talking meeting in 2 weeks.
The
Which is the 8th of October. Oh, I'm sorry.
The
The 9th.
Right, I will not be around on the 9th. I'll be flying back from a business trip on the 9th. I am available on the 10th.
I can do the 10th.
I can do the 10th.
So far, I can do the 10th.
The 10th's gonna be tough for me. How long do we expect the meetings to last?
An hour.
If you know anything about David Green, he likes to move things along.
Shouldn't
Um,
be any longer than an hour. We're all gonna go crazy.
What time do you want to hold the meetings?
the,
30 time frame is a good time. I mean, but You have to augment.
I mean,
Could we
can be
do 6
flexible for
o'clock?
Matt. He's the chair. So if we can meet on Thursday, we don't have to have full quorum necessarily, right?
Yeah,
What-
core would be what? The majority, so we would need 6. Or 4. 5.
It would be 6,
5, you're right, you're correct.
5.
5, yeah, 5 for a quorum. But meeting, work slows down when you have poor attendance, because then you're updating half the people.
That's correct.
So if people miss a meeting, you really want to watch the video on YouTube so that
Would it,
it's keep
would
it
a
up.
6 o'clock start on that Thursday be possible for people?
I'm fine with that.
Yes.
Yeah,
So, there's a, the erosion task force meets on that night. I think
Oh,
it's 7. It, it's theoretically possible, but we'd have to be very tight.
Well, why don't we try to do it? We'll do an hour meeting, at least that gets us started. And then we see where we get with an hour, and then we can make a judgment. Do we need to meet the next, 2 weeks after that, I guess. Kind of take it, let's get through the first meeting first. I think, this is just kind of the opening meeting, and I think during the next meeting, we'll get into more of the details, start looking at the bylaws. I think something Tom and I can probably put together before the next meeting is just the agenda. Let's try to have something that's meaningful that we can actually accomplish. Yeah, something that we can accomplish, public comment for 5 minutes if there is public.
So
comment.
am I hearing the 10th at 6 o'clock, Matt?
That's what I'm saying, 10th at 6.
All right, thank you so much.
And it can only be for an hour because 2 of your members have another meeting at 7.
That's fine. The meeting shouldn't go over an hour. We should really agree to that as a committee. There's no need for that.
I second that.
I don't, we don't have meetings longer than a half an hour at my bank. It's not allowed. I'm not kidding you.
We just have standing meetings, so we can go down that road if we need.
just got to keep the public in check.
Well, that's what public comment for. That's Matt's job.
You figure out where is there a email address for this specific committee that people can send things in if needed? How do we set that
We
up?
will, you
And who
need,
has access to that email?
you can reach out to web@shutesbury.org and ask for a voting safety committee email.
Can you email that to me later?
Yeah.
Then I can make the request.
Yeah.
Because I think that's important, because if we are gonna limit public comment,
You need
if
to
people
hear.
want to be able to send us something, they can send it to us so we can.
Mhm.
That's the best way to do it. Then we have time as a committee to digest it rather than get bamboozled. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And typically, public comment is, you don't need to make any response to.
Nor should you.
Yeah, you shouldn't. You
Agreed.
take it in and then if you're gonna respond at a later point, you can do that, but you don't have to.
Sounds good. Next thing is we have the contact information. So you sent out the email today that has everybody's contact information. Those are all the emails that everybody wants.
Can we, because I was advised to make a Shutesbury email address for the committee by by Grace, is it the
Mhm.
young lady who swore us in? And so I'd like to start using that one if possible.
I also created a Shutesbury one following that suggested format.
Do we have an action that everybody by the end of the week sends a email to Tom with what our contact information preferences? Is that all right, Tom?
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
And maybe, include a phone number, as well
A
too.
cell phone number.
Do cell phone number and email address.
Yep.
So that
Mhm.
in case anybody needs to call anybody, we all have our contact information. That
Do
everybody
all
needs.
of you know where my address is or have it? Because it's in.
You sent an email out to the group at one point, Tom. So is that what you prefer?
Yeah, it's Shutesbury, Tom Seifert. But
Yeah.
Great. Okay, thanks.
And
So-
what I sent tonight, was it the right one or wrong?
Yep,
That's correct.
Okay.
That's Seifert at
Yeah.
gmail.com. I'll do the same.
Yep,
I'll
perfect.
create my own, well, everybody will have their own.
Right.
You'll send me you're gonna
The web
actually
at
send me the
shutesbury.org.
web
Can you give me, please, if,
copy both Tom and I do.
did we mention telephone numbers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cell phone number or
Yeah,
email.
and preferences, et cetera. Thanks.
Great. That's the contact information. Organizational items, what did you mean by that?
You all right? Making sure people, reminding you of what Grace told you all. The OML, the open meeting law, is really critical to how you operate as a committee for the town. So what that means is if you happen to be gathered together, say at the grocery store, and 6 of you are, I know it's crazy, but if you just, 6 people get to, even 5 is a quorum. If you have a group conversation about the issues that are under consideration by the committee, it could be deemed an open meeting law violation. You want to avoid those at all costs. We have a number of watchdogs in town that will notice if there is an inappropriate action that takes place at a meeting or even in email exchanges. In email exchanges, you have to be very careful. The only thing you can share as a group is scheduling information. You cannot express an opinion about anything in your emails to each other. If somebody just emails out to the group, wow, I just found a perfect, I don't know, but if you express your opinion that you favor one aspect of the bylaw and you discredit another, you should not do that outside your meetings. Save your conversation for when you are together as a group. And even if it's 3 people talking, you want to be careful. So the easiest thing in being careful is not to have these conversations outside. If it's a couple people sharing some ideas, that's typically okay. But you don't want to get conspiratorial. You don't want to impact voting. You just have to be careful.
Okay.
And the ethics test, I think Grace all reminded you of, each of you need to do that if you can, within the first 30 days from getting your materials. I think she gave you all the ethics link. So you want to get that done right away.
Has everybody done the ethics yet? So just ask a question. Has anybody done it yet?
Yeah,
I have not.
Raise hands. Done it?
yeah.
I'm not, I will.
Thank you.
I haven't done it either yet, so I will make sure I get that done. So if everybody could accomplish that by the next meeting would be great. Probably best if we all start on an even keel. Probably makes sense. The next agenda was review the charge. So what time is it here now? 6:30, so we have 10 minutes. So one of the things we can look at is just, I read the charge over again today. And, what I like to do is I like to kind of bring a structure and a plain agenda for the next meeting. We can definitely review the charge here now. But I think we should kind of break it up into chunks. We'll have the exhibits, we'll have the existing bylaws. I think we should talk through each of them, go through each of the bylaws as they're stated today and have a conversation, discussion. If there's things that we want to augment, change, educate, and we can kind of start to create a plan for what we want to propose to the town, whether that be education, whether that be changes, influence things, getting more feedback, doing research, just depends on what it's going to take to go through that. But has everybody reviewed the charge recently?
Yes.
No, I would love it if we could review it tonight.
Yeah, for sure. I think,
Well, I think that if you haven't read it, you should read it, right? So maybe an email that should be sent to everyone, Matt, perhaps?
Maybe an email with that and a copy of the actual bylaws, so everybody's on the same page about
I
what we're
think that
discussing.
should be, if we all don't have copies of that, we should all have that, I would think.
All right, so I'm gonna take down the action item that an email out. So we get the, all the email addresses. I'll send out the charge. I'll send out all the bylaws. I did one of those today. And there was two different bylaws. There was one that was back in, updated in 2014, May of 2014, then July of 2014. And there was another one that was updated. There was one that was done back in 1996, where they banned the jet skis. So I think I saw those as well.
And was
So
it
winter.
1973?
Yep. So good. Yeah, so I think, you know, let's just look at the charge here really quick. So if we look at the work plan of the task force, obviously, you know, the whole premise of the charge was there was a boating accident, bylaws hadn't been reviewed in over a decade. The idea was, is there anything, how can we look at what's changed on the lake? How's the lake being used? How can we present new safety measures potentially to make the lake safe? And the work plan is review the current bylaws and recommend changes, if any. I think that's what they said in the discussion. So the bylaws account for any current usage patterns on the lake. Review how the bylaws enforce and make recommendations to the select board regarding any needed changes that way. And I know I spoke with the chief at a few of these meetings. She plans to be an adjunct member, so we should probably copy her in on all of our communications as well. I think the fire department was also going to be a.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep.
one more to talk about environmental police. I don't know if we have anybody
No,
chosen for that. or she
Chrissy's the
liaison.
contact for them, so we don't need to bring them.
So I think it's important that when we send out agendas or we send out what we're going to discuss, we should definitely include so that they're aware of what we're going through.
Yeah, and
And there
Chrissy
is-
was aware tonight, but she had a conflict.
And there is one person I think on the committee that isn't here tonight. Is that true?
Yeah, wind caller.
Okay.
And I have her email that I can, well,
Yeah,
you
good.
should have it too, 'cause it was in the
Okay.
group chat.
In her last email saying she couldn't come to here, she did, I believe, have dates of when she was available. Does that second meeting fall into those dates? Do we know?
It sounded like she was out of the country for a couple
Until
of.
the 16th.
Yeah.
don't-
Doesn't mean that she won't be able to join from Zoom.
That's true. Yeah.
We'll send a Zoom and we can hope that they'll have that.
She's pretty resourceful.
Good. The last work plan was identify ways to educate the public about the bylaw, including but not limited to signage, LWA communications, and on the town website. And then the last part of the charge was make final recommendations to the Shutesbury Select Board on, you know, what we find as a group and what we recommend on different items.
By
And
February 15th
by February 15th.
to March.
I think that last part of the charter is very important. Those words, make final recommendations
Yep.
to the select board. That's what this is. These are recommendations.
Yep.
The select board does not have to acknowledge them. We should all realize that.
But if you connect with them, meet with them maybe halfway through your process or when you feel like you're starting to formulate what you want to do, it's probably might be a good idea to check in with them and see, just to get some confirmation that they're in support as you go, so you don't end up totally diverging.
No, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the bylaws here.
Is there anything else here that's within the realms of the agenda, Matt?
No, that pretty much hits it. I was just looking at the bylaws with the idea of how many pieces and parts do we think we can accomplish in an hour's time frame during our next meetings. I think that's what we really need to spend the bulk of our time on. It's just going through the existing bylaws and see if they apply, they don't apply, changes, discussion. And I think we should go through. There's some of them that'll probably have more discussion than others. You start thinking about water skiing, speed limits, where people are supposed to, what the speed limits are within 150 feet. There's a lot of things that I think, we'll probably all have a lot of good input.
Well, you'll need to send an agenda out, I think, what is it, 3 days prior to the meeting, Becky?
It's required, by 48 hours, but,
Okay,
you know, as soon as you can get it ready ahead of the 48 hours is good.
so the sooner the better on that, Matt. That way we'll all have a chance to input if we want to make any changes to the agenda or any suggestions to you.
Yeah, I'd like to.
It might be easier for you to structure that way once you start getting some guidance from the rest of the group. Don't put it all on yourself.
All right. I think we're off to the races, and who's gonna help set up the next Zoom meeting? Is that, I have to go to the, you
I
have to
need
send
to
the people?
teach you how to,
I know, I'll use Zoom very, very free.
right,
very
Zoom is
useful.
perfect. I need to guide you on the town government website.
Okay.
Actually, Grace will do that. She gives you a login,
Okay.
password and everything for it.
I also know that Tom is very good at this computer stuff, so.
Yes, he is.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
It's you without even asking.
No
twice.
promises. but I can do stuff.
'Cause,
I'll second David's motion to adjourn.
To adjourn? Okay.
Was happening while you guys were chatting.
Yeah, we have a motion to adjourn.
And then we're ending our first.
And a
meeting
second.
at 29,
Okay,
so-
you have to do a roll call vote when you conclude the meeting. So please don't jump ship yet till a roll call vote is completed.
Dave, aye.
Seaford,
And I, heroic guy.
Remmel, I.
Rivers, aye.
Lehan, I.
Salvador, I.
Russell, I.
Peace out, folks. See you
Right.
next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Ciao, everyone.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Good night. Is that Joe?
Well,
Good
you're
night,
outta here.